Hello and welcome to Life in the Mind, a neurodivergent podcast by neurodivergent people. I'm Maurice Spear.
And I'm Amy Wigman. And we're recording today in our brand new Life in the Mind studio.
Ooh, it's so shiny.
It's really shiny. Well, actually, the thing is, it's not shiny. It's so ambient. I feel like there should be whale noises and like.
Oh my God, we should get like one of those wave machine things that make the walls look like.
I've got one of those. They're brilliant.
Yeah, like
I
underwater.
ostensibly bought for my toddler, but it's just basically for me when I have a bath. Like I just stick it in the bathroom, like woo.
We'll 100% fall asleep halfway through. Though one of us be talking for too long, the other one be like, "Oh, this is really peaceful. Oh, I'm done now." Oh.
So, who do we have on our first podcast record of the series?
We have the wonderful Mia Borthwick. Hello, Mia.
Hello.
It's so nice to have you, and it's also really nice that you've dressed in our like podcast palette.
It was for you guys. I knew it was coming.
Thank you. I might steal that cardigan.
It's very nice.
I'm not even
it's
kidding.
Really comfy.
So, Mia, what is your relationship with neurodivergence?
Complex.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean I have dyscalculia, which is learning difficulty of maths. And I would say I've had a very tough relationship with it, to be honest. It has not been a good relationship. I mean, it's only like in the last year that I've really accepted this is who I am. When I was younger, I really masked it a lot. I'd never told anyone about it. None of my friends knew. So yeah, it's always been really hard for me to accept it. I think there's a lot of reasons for that, which I'm sure we'll probably get into. But yeah, I think I prefer it now than when I was younger. Like I'm happy with it now, kind of, as happy as you can be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really have had a really like windy road relationship with it.
How old were you when you kind of discovered that you had dyscalculia?
I was about 6 years old, but I was diagnosed when I was 10 years old.
Right.
So it was a teacher that recognised that there was something not right, because I used to get a lot of teachers in like parents' evening say, "Oh, Mia's really quiet. Mia never joins in with any of the lessons. Like, I don't think she really knows what's going on in my lessons." And my mum would always be like, "Yeah, I feel like there's more to it than," because we used to think, "Oh, she's just really shy," But my mum was like, "No, there is definitely more to this. I don't know what it is yet, but." And then one of my teachers like picked up on the fact that I was really struggling with maths and I was so behind the rest of the class. So she was like, "I think she might have something called dyscalculia, but it's so uncommon, like hardly anyone has it," which it's not. It's not uncommon. It's very common. Just like at the time, I guess, like apparently no student had ever had it in the school, which was crazy. So it was really scary hearing that.
Definitely not true.
No,
No one's picked up on the fact that they've got dyscalculia.
Recognised.
Yeah. So it was really scary hearing about it. So I couldn't get diagnosed until I was 10, but we knew from when I was 6. So it's been a long couple of years of knowing it, but like a long time of not accepting it.
Yeah. Yeah, how old are you now?
I'm 26.
So you've had that official diagnosis for 16 years, all right?
Maybe.
Yeah, I should not. Yeah, sorry. That was harsh.
Are you throwing maths questions out, I guess, with dyscalculia? Because that's not good, man.
That's just like... but yeah, so it's a reasonable amount of time to kind of, like you said, you had a windy road with that. How did you find that kind of process? Did once you, because you had that 4-year gap between maybe thinking it in the first place and then the actual diagnosis, then you've had that time from then till now. How did that kind of go over time? What was that windy road, I guess?
Well, I think the reason it was so windy is because I the first teacher I had that recognised it was great. She was like, you know what, we're going to do everything we can to make sure Mia gets support. So we were really hopeful about it. And then after that, I had a teacher who just didn't, I don't think she believed me, basically. And I remember, like, I have this really vivid memory of coming into the lesson, and she had like separated all the tables, and she was like, right, we're going to do a maths test. Like, she didn't tell anyone. It wasn't like, I mean, we were like 6, 7, and she's just like, yeah, we're going to do a maths test. And
awful.
I know.
It's really bad.
I know.
Horrible.
And she sat me at the front of the class, and by that point I had like support. So like I had counters, so like, and blocks to help me count, because I didn't know how to count until then. So they would help me, and my mum was like, we're going to make sure that you always have that in your lessons, because it's the only way that you understand it. So we're going to make sure you have it. I also had a support worker, but then it came to this test, and the teacher was like, yeah, you're not allowed any of that, because it's not fair on the rest of the kids.
Sorry, how old were you?
I was about 6 or 7. Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah, that's really bad.
So,
Yeah.
like, because I know you're a comedian and a performer, and like I'm watching some of your videos on Insta. There's a little bit about saying we've all got that one teacher, who basically bullied us at school. I'm guessing it was that person, because that's awful.
It wasn't that person.
Oh, wow.
I've had a few.
Okay.
I've had a few. Yeah, it's just, I've had some absolutely incredible teachers who genuinely really wanted to help me, and then I just had some that just didn't believe me, and so that's why my relationship with it has been so like all over the place, because I've gone through many times not actually believing that I do have it, and that it's all in my head because of, you know, one teacher saying, well, not directly saying I don't believe you, but that was definitely what they were giving off.
Yeah, the implication there being something like, you're just not trying, are you? Or something like that.
Yeah, just that.
Which I'm sure a lot of neurodivergent people can definitely identify with. So how did, and I suppose it's because you're diagnosed at such a young age as well, like how did your discovery change your relationship with yourself, or how has it like developed over the years? Because you said that now you're more comfortable with it.
Yeah, I'm more comfortable with it now, because when I started doing my show about Dyscalculia, it made me realise that loads of people have been through the exact same thing as I have. Like, they've gone through the same thing at school, where teachers don't believe them and they struggle with little things. Like, I mean, I recently got in touch with the Dyscalculia network in the past year, and I've met loads of dyscalculic people, and like they're like, oh yeah, I really struggle with this and I struggle with this. I'm like, what? I had no idea. Like, I thought it was just me. So because I know that I'm not crazy and it is real, I'm very much like, do you know what? Yeah, this is real, and so many people suffer from it. And I'm so glad that I have accepted it now, because it's done so much for me. Like, I think when you avoid something for such a long time, it really catches up with you later in life, and then you have to face it. So I did, and honestly, it's been the best thing ever. I'm so glad that I did, because I just hate having to mask it.
Yeah.
You know? It's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, that's really brilliant. And like, it's really lovely to hear that kind of meeting other people with similar experiences, and that kind of validation that you got from that, and go, oh my God, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
And like how much that changed things, and then that enabled you to face up to it. Because it's such an important thing. You know, we don't want to feel alone.
No.
Like, we shouldn't.
No.
Like, none of us.
Still finding things that people say, or you see on the internet, and going, oh, is that a neurodivergent thing?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay. I just thought I was being weird about this. But no, actually, this is a genuine thing.
Yeah.
Drop that bit of beating myself up.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
I know you were diagnosed kind of early, or comparatively early.
Yeah.
But was there a point in your sort of adult life where you, in search of a better word, sort of came out as neurodivergent? Like, was there sort of a, hey, group of friends, this is what you need to know about me? Similarly, kind of employers and stuff. Was there a moment, or is it just like a gradual thing that you just keep doing every day?
Yeah, I genuinely, I don't think I really ever came out like to my friends. I mean, apart from when I did my show, I think that's when people, I sort of kind of dropped it in conversation. Like, it was little things like we had to split the bill for something, and I'd be like, oh, do you know, I can't. And I would say, because I can't do maths. Yeah. And then everyone would be like, yeah, I can't do it either. But I'm like, no, I really can't do it. I literally can't do it. But I didn't want to tell them, because I was like, oh, then I have to explain what it is. And that is the worst, because then there's always that fear of, are they going to believe me? And also, like, are they going to understand and whatever?
Treat you differently or something.
Yeah. Are they going to treat me differently? Are they going to think I'm stupid? Blah, blah, blah. But I think, when I did my show, all of my friends came, because I have a lot of very theatre-y friends. All my friends came, and then a lot of them were like, oh, I had no idea that you had that. And yeah, in terms of like jobs and stuff, like I never mention it, but my mum is always like, you have to tell them, because if you don't and you struggle, then, you know, what can they do? Yeah. But I'm always like, no, I don't want to, because then I have to, again, go through that whole thing of explaining it. And then, because I think I was really brave once at this horrible job. I was a children's entertainer at Holiday Park. Yeah.
Who hasn't gone through the children's entertainer route at some point?
Literally.
Mari, have you done that? I've done that.
No, I mean, as a teacher, kind of.
Oh, yeah, you went that way. But children, yeah.
Basically ended up doing the same thing.
These people are on my level.
Yeah, I did that job, and there was a thing we had to do where we had to like work out our hours at the end of every shift or something like that. And I always did it wrong, but I was so worried about telling them that I have dyscalculia that I just did it wrong. And then there was this really nasty woman that worked there, and she'd always have a go at me and be like, for God's sake, why are you not doing this properly? Like, now I've got to take time out of my busy schedule to do it for you. And then I was like, oh no, so that makes me feel even worse about myself. But I did sort of get quite brave and say, I have dyscalculia, so I really struggle. And the response was just really bad. That it was like, well, okay, what do you want us to do kind of attitude. It wasn't like a, oh, okay, that's really interesting, thanks for letting us know. It was like, oh, okay, so like you still need to do it. Everyone's got to do it.
You sort of become, I've had it with some jobs, but relating to the fibromyalgia, you sort of become neurodivergent's babysitter.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm telling you that I need reasonable adjustments, and I can help you with those, but it's like they're not willing to put in any work to look it up as an employer and go, hey, this is what my employee might need. It puts it all on you to explain everything and how tiring it is to go through all this, and how embarrassing to go through all the things that you struggle with an employer who you're trying to impress and like convince that you're good at your job. And it's a horrible thing to have to continually do every time you go to a job.
You kind of resurfacing, bring it back to the surface again and again, and thinking over it. And you have to explain kind of the worst parts of things in many ways, don't you? And the onus far too often falls upon people who experience the world differently to then educate others about it. It's like, rather than other people doing the work and educating themselves so that that person doesn't have to go through that kind of guilt or shame or triggering process again and again. It's not, it's the burden falls upon the person who is different to fight for their right to be different in the world and create that space.
Don't put us through our PIP assessment more times than we actually have to do it.
Especially like for those people who like your legs aren't going to go back or something like that. What's
the point?
Let's not go on PIP. Let's not get on PIP. That is a rant and a half.
Let's do a PIP episode. Let's not.
Yeah.
So how does your neurodivergent Does your neurodivergence affect you in any way physically?
Yes.
Ooh.
It does, kind of. But like I think it's more that like I get very anxious, and when I get anxious, I want to kind of show you, but I start to do the typical pick your skin sort of thing,
Yeah.
which is something that I have been doing for years since I was a kid, and I think it was around the time I was diagnosed with dyscalculia, funnily enough. Like when I was in lessons, it just started then. And I think it's my sort of coping mechanism when I get like anxious and stuff. I do it, and I think it was definitely triggered from school. So like, and I don't know how to stop. But I guess things like this, like playing with things like this help.
Diverting it.
Yeah. So Mia's holding like a fidget pop.
Yeah.
We've got a little bowl of them in the studio. If you're,
It's a
you're just
massive
listening on,
bowl of
yeah, sorry, we've got a
There is
massive
so
bowl of
many.
them on the table. If you're just listening on a podcast, so if you hear any little pops, that's what it is. But yeah, I find those things really helpful because I pick at my fingers as well. But yeah, that's interesting that it sort of appeared around about your diagnosis.
Yeah, when I was younger, I've been doing it for years, and it's not good because it hurts a lot. And like, but then that's the thing. That I think that's why I did it, because I was so upset in myself at school that I would I'd pick at my skin because it would sort of take away some of the way I was feeling.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
really
Yeah.
sad. But
It
like
redirects the pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does,
Yeah, it's a thing that I think far too many of us sadly can relate to, is doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And again, it's interesting, even just because I now look at those things and go, from the neurodivergent point of view, is there some stimming impulse there in terms of trying to release this tension into repetitive movement type of thing? And if it's, you don't have anything else, then it's like, well, what can I do? I can bite my nails down to the quick. I can pick at my skin. I can rub my nose until it goes all red.
What
and
have I got
stuff.
that I
And
can
so
fiddle
many
with?
people, pulls like just eats the same spot over and over again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's so many little things that so many people do, and so often it is missed entirely as people go, stop. Just stop that. That's
Stop
weird.
fiddling.
Or
Yeah.
that's just stop doing that. And instead of going, this is a sign of something extra that needs to be looked after.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my mum always used to say, stop doing that. You're just like your dad. so
Your dad's next episode, is he? I was thinking, oh, great.
Generational neurodivergence. Let's pop that on the agenda. So I guess we could finish up with, how would you describe your neurodivergence to someone you've never met before?
I'm laughing at that because that's what I hate doing.
Yes, that's understandable.
It's important. So I guess like in the past when I've had to tell people, I say, okay, I've got dyscalculia, and then they say, what's that? And then the easiest response for me would always be, well, it means that I've just got a learning difficulty with maths, but it's kind of not just that. It's so many different things. I would say it affects like my speech. Sometimes I struggle to get words out because it's all about sequencing dyscalculia. So like putting things in an order, and I struggle to do that. And like organising and things like that, I struggle to organise things. Like my house is a mess, and I don't know how long I can keep blaming my dyscalculia for that, or just the fact that I'm a messy person. But yeah, just that. And then like travelling is always the worst, because it's about getting the train on time or getting it at the right platform. And obviously there's so many different platforms and stuff that you have to get. And then, yeah, like the tube in London, like that's always hard. I mean, unless you live there and you're used to it, for someone like me, having to navigate that on my own, because when you look at a tube map, there's just so many different lines and stuff, and that's really confusing, like super confusing. So it's not just basic maths, it's everything around there, anything that you can imagine that has anything to do with maths, like you know, in geography, I struggled with geography at school, and learning languages, that was really hard because it's about, you know, order and processing.
Sequencing,
sequencing. Yeah, sequencing is such a huge thing in dyscalculia that not many people know about.
Yeah.
But if you ask any dyscalculic person, they'll say, yeah, it's the sequencing. It's, you know, putting things in order. So yeah, I think my biggest thing would be like, it's not just maths. Just like think about what maths really is.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just adding things up. It's everything else that goes along with that.
And I think, because we're going to talk to you about dyscalculia in general on our topic episode, but I think we'll bring this episode to a close.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Thank you so much for talking to us, Mia. And if you've enjoyed listening to Mia talk, you can join her again on our next episode. You can find Mia on Instagram. It's Dyscalculia Diaries.
Dyscalculia Diaries, yeah. And then there's also my performer account, which is where I post very silly things.
They're very funny.
It's Mia Borthwick Performer as well on Instagram.
Lovely. Okay, folks, that's it for this episode. You can follow us on Instagram at life.inthemind. Our other socials are linked in our bio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. See you next time.